Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I know many people are local, but also just as many people probably came from far away, so I'll get started. Everyone, I am Mark Ontario, Uncle Herman's nephew. On behalf of the family, I welcome you to the celebration of his life. Herman Augustus Washington, 86, passed away peacefully at his Patchogue, New York home on March 13th, 2022, after a long battle with Parkinson's disease. He was a beloved son, husband, and father. Herman was born on July 12, 1935, to the late Herman A. Washington Sr. and Naomi Hucles Washington. He graduated from Bishop DuBois High School, where he was a sprinter on the track team. He earned his undergraduate degree at Manhattan College on full scholarship and went on to earn his master's degree in engineering at New York University. Herman's 30-plus years career in computer information technology includes IBM, where he was a manager. He then joined the faculty at LaGuardia Community College in Queens, New York. For 28 years, he enjoyed a long and distinguished career serving as the Computer Information Department's second chairperson and retired as a full professor of computer science. He even opened a computer technology school in Hempstead, Long Island. In the year 2000, Herman was featured in Long Island Newsday as a Long Islander of the Century. In 2008, he was again featured on a Newsday cover with mentee Sean Wright as a mentor of aspiring youth. He stated, "I am a very fortunate person. I have a good education, and I feel I should dedicate much of my energy to serve the community. Active in the NAACP, Herman founded a chapter in Roosevelt, Long Island in 1975. He was a trustee for the Family and Children's Association in Mineola and a trustee of the Hicksville-based Catholic Charities. Herman also served a 7-year term on the board of United Way in Deer Park. An active member of Gamma Iota Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, Herman was also invited to join the Alpha Sigma Boule of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity and the Comas Club, which is a social men's club in Brooklyn, where he served as president and which celebrates their 100th anniversary this year. Herman is survived by his beloved wife, Daryl Jordan, his children of his first marriage, son Keith Washington and daughter Lori Washington, his daughters from his second marriage, Tanya Washington, and recently deceased Gina Hussein. He is also survived by his sister, Ann Monterio, my mother, niece Michelle Monterio, nephews Mark Monterio, my wife Yoshiko, and Michael Monterio, great nieces Erica and Mia Monterio, our children, sister-in-law Janet Jordan, cousin Joan Thurman, caregiver Kadan Feliciano, colleague and co-worker Gerald Meyer, and Mercedes Acosta, and a host of friends. And now, Maurice Edwards will come forward on behalf of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
I am the resurrection and the life, saith the Lord. He that believeth in me, though he was dead, yet shall he live. O Master eternal, give to each of us the deep consciousness of thy presence, that the spirit of eternity may direct our thoughts, guide and control our hearts, and live so that we may become through thee servants of all mankind. Amen.
And love. distinguished brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Gamma Island Lambda Chapter, Brooklyn, New York, key number 175, present the Omega Rite, the final counsel of our dearest brother, Herman Washington. Whereas our late brother was duly initiated into Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated on Friday, the 13th day of April, and the year 1956 by way of Ada Chapter, seated at Columbia University in New York City, New York. Whereas our late brother has departed this life on Saturday, the 12th day of December, and the year 2022, at the glorious age of 86. And whereas our late brother has transitioned onward and upward towards the light, a distinguished life member, number 2455, with over 50 years of service, 50 years of service to Alpha Phi Alpha in excellent standing with Gamma Iota Lambda Chapter, having satisfied all fraternal obligations. And whereas our late brother has relentlessly exemplified the aims of our dear fraternity, manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. And whereas our late brother has steadfastly upheld our motto, reminding, first of all, servants of all, that has now transcended all. And whereas our late brother is survived by his loving family members, cherished friends, and esteemed colleagues, and notable fraternity brothers, be it immediately resolved, first, that we, the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Gamma Iota Lambda Chapter, are fraternally bonded to your family, as the eternal Creator, through his infinite wisdom, has granted us the opportunity to share life with our departed brother. Alpha men, both locally and internationally, offer ours to the family of the beloved brother. We grieve and weep for your loss of our beloved brother, but cherish his memory. For the deeds and fellowship he leaves behind shall live on each day in our hearts of our brotherhood. Be it further resolved, second, that I, Ian McKay, along with Brother Maurice Luther Edwards, who is the president of Gamma Iota Lambda Chapter, in accordance with the authority vested by the Constitution and bylaws of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, have transferred his membership, Brother Herman August Washington, to the Omega Chapter, where he may fellowship internally alongside our beloved Jewel and all the distinguished brothers that will welcome him into the chapter with sweet rest. Be it finally resolved, third, that this resolution is presented to the family and a copy is filed in our chapter's archives. In witness whereof, I hereto set my hand on this Saturday, the 21st day of the month of May, and the year 2022, and of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Ian McKay and his brother Maurice Luther Edwards. Thank you.
Alpha brothers, gather round and make our praise resound of this brother whose labor now is crowned. His good deeds have been blessed, commended through each test. To Omega, our chapter of sweet rest. Farewell, dear brother, transcendent art thou. Thy spirit shall dwell with us now. We cherish thy memory, thy good name will we bear. Thank you, brothers of Alpha Alpha. Now, we present Blair Duncan on behalf of Sigma Pi Alpha Sigma Boule.
Are there any other members of Sigma Phi Phi, please join us. Grammaticus, what is the hour?
Sire Archon, it is the hour of destiny,
What great destiny calls us here?
the destiny of a man and of all men.
Then we have come this hour to celebrate the life of fellow Archon who has been called to the eternal rest.
It is for that we have come, Sire Archon.
Will you call the name of him whose loss we mourn and bring to our remembrance his years with us?
Sire Archon, we bring to remembrance the life of Archon Herman Washington, who contributed his light and learning to our fellowship and to his own.
Archon Agogus, please read for our inspiration the words of comfort from the wisdom of Solomon.
Let us hear the message. Let us hear the message from the sacred records. The souls of the just are in God's hands. There shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to be dead. Their departure is reckoned as defeat, and they are going from us to utter destruction. But they are at peace, and and they may be punished in the sight of men. Yet they sure have the hope of immortality, because God had tested them and found them worthy to be his. Like gold in a crucible, he put them into proof and found them acceptable. Like an offering burnt upon the altar, and the Lord shall be their king forever and ever. Those who have put their trust in him shall understand that he is true, and the faithful shall attend upon him in love. They are his chosen, the grace and the mercy shall be theirs. So ends the reading from the record.
Archons of Alpha Sigma Boule, it has been wisely said that the time and the place of man's life is the time and place of his body. But the meaning of a man's life is as eternal and significant as he, with all of him, wills to make it. These words are a key to the analysis of the life of all of us. Archon Herman Washington demonstrated those standards of excellence we all cherish, and which are a vital part of our heritage. He exemplified the highest principles of his profession. In so doing, he walked in the ways of other notables who have gone before him. At the same time, he made his own unique contribution to human well-being. The true measure of a man's life is determined not by the tangible things he produces, but by the intangible qualities he possesses and the impact of these upon his fellow man. It is measured not in length of years, but by the extent to which he recognizes the abiding values of life, by his ability to distinguish between the true and the false, the superficial from the profound, and his ability to make courageous and responsible choices. Living in accordance with these ideals, Archon Herman Washington's life was significant and meaningful, and for this, we celebrate his memory. We full know well there is nothing truer to life than death, and that in due course, each one of us will come to this moment of truth and destiny. As we bid farewell to our departed Archon, we have the assurance that his spirit rests in peace. Men of faith need have no fear of their eternal future, for the souls of the righteous are in the hands of God. Let us pray. O thou who art the Lord of life, from whom we come, in whom we live, to whom we go, we praise your name for the life of Archon Herman Washington and for the legacy of dedication and commitment he bequeathed to those who follow in his train. Vouchsafe to us courage in the midst of difficulties and the ability to see light in the midst of darkness. Despite our sense of loss, may we ever be fully aware that life goes on and new challenges must be met, always with the undergirding of your eternal presence. In this spirit, O Lord of life, we all pray and say, Amen.
Now, we will hear from Richard Flateau and John Bourne of the Comas Club.
So good afternoon on this blazing late spring afternoon. Hottest temperature since I think August of last year. My name is Richard Flateau, and I'm the president of the Comas Club, Inc., which is a unique men's social organization. And as Mark Montiero noted, we're in the midst of our centennial. So first and foremost, I offer my condolences on behalf of myself and the brothers of the Comas Club to Herman's beloved wife, Darrell, and his family. And I have a resolution from the Comas Club, but before I read it, I wanted to say a few words that exemplify Herman's personal qualities of dedication and consistency. Herman was dedicated. He became a member of the Comas Club in April 1993. But not only was he a member, Herman was an active member. Active. And he served in several leadership roles in the club and was the 38th president for 2 years in 2004 and 2005. Herman's dedication did not go unnoticed. So much so that even as his health declined, he was named the Comas Club Man of the Year in 2013. And I still remember Herman being serenaded by the lovely voice of his wife, Darrell, during the Man of the Year ceremony held at our clubhouse at 244 Decatur Street in Brooklyn. And Herman was consistent. He would attend meetings virtually on Zoom that we had during the pandemic, actually up until a couple of months before he passed away. Of course, with the technical assistance of his wife, who I think he asked to leave the room once the meeting started. So because Herman played such a large role in the life of the Comas Club for nearly 30 years, I'd like to read this resolution on behalf of the Board of Directors and the members of the Comas Club. Whereas our dear member, Herman A. Washington Jr., departed this life on March 13, 2022, for another land, a city which has foundation and whose building and maker is God. And whereas Herman A. Washington is survived by a devoted and grieving family, and whereas Herman A. Washington was a member of the Comas Club, Inc., and whereas during his lifetime, Herman A. Washington was respected, admired, and loved by us. Be it resolved that we, the officers and members of the Comas Club, Inc., wish his family to know that we realize that the setting of the final sun on the long day of life is always an occasion of sorrow and a time of great sadness to those who sustain such loss. However, it is our hope you find some degree of comfort in the knowledge that those of us who knew him well feel that during the course of his sojourn on God's earth, he so conducted himself that he left an indelible footprint in the sands of time and marks on the lives of those who share your loss. So to our dear one who has gone on before us, we grieve because we shall miss your kind smile, your helpful ways, and encouraging spirit. To the devoted and grieving family, may God be with you and keep you in this time of sorrow in the days ahead. This resolution made this May 21st in the year of our Lord, 2022. And now we're going to have a few words from a former president of the club and personal friend of Herman's, John Bourne.
Thank you, Richard, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Bourne, and today it is my distinct honor to speak on behalf of the Comas Club of Brooklyn, New York. Herman Washington was a longtime member of the Comas Club who over the years has offered his services in many different capacities, including serving as president during the period 2004-2005. In many ways, Herman exemplified all that it is to be a Comas Club member. He strengthened our organization through his leadership and mentoring, including mentoring me and preparing me to follow in his footsteps as Comas Club president. He emphasized education and community service, stressing their importance as a means of skillfully navigating obstacles that inevitably stand in the way of success. All the while, he embraced our club credo of camaraderie and merriment. We exist to have some fun, to offset the stresses and strains of everyday living. Herman had a way of getting his points across without ever raising his voice. If need be, he could dress you down, even while he had a smile on his face. He always demonstrated a hint of mischief in his demeanor, which belied his serious and professional nature. We loved Herman for who he was and what he did. He impacted us all in so many ways, even though these impacts may sometimes have seemed unremarkable. It is our hope that Herman's legacy will live on. May the seeds that he planted continue to blossom and bear fruit. And may the strong foundation that he helped to create provide strong building blocks for our future. As Comas Club men and brothers all, we offer our prayers and support for his wife, Darrell, and his family members, his many friends, fraternal brothers, professional colleagues, and co-workers. May his memory live on with us well into the future. And on a personal note, I wish to extend my condolences to Darrell and the entire Washington family, and especially to Darrell, whom I've known for more than 60 years. Can I say that? We were an extended family as children, and our parents knew each other well. We visited each other often, and Janet as well. We loved you all. So we extend our condolences to the entire family and to the Washington family. Darrell has exhibited so much grace, love, and strength in caring for Herman in these recent years, and she is a true inspiration to us all. Thank you, and again, our condolences. Thank you, Comas brothers.
Thank you, Mr. Fato and Mr. Boylan and the Comas Club. Now I would like to introduce Phyllis Rice.
To Darrell, family, and friends of Herman. I met Herman in the late 60s when John and I moved to Roosevelt. John became a member of Gamma Iota Lambda Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, where Herman was a member. We discovered that we both lived in Roosevelt and had children around the same age. We later found ourselves at the same organizational and interracial friendship groups that were prevalent at the time. I soon learned that Herman was at the forefront of the burgeoning technology movement and often led these groups to more modern ways of getting things done. Herman was also a community activist. He was involved not only with the forward-moving groups, such as the NAACP, but also helped to organize groups such as the 100 Black Men of Long Island. I personally remember the many years ago when John was involved in developing the mall anchored by Food Town, the much-needed grocery store in Roosevelt. This mall and the housing development across the street improved the value and appearance of Roosevelt. Herman was on board with his knowledge and support, and his efforts helped make his home village a more comfortable and attractive place to live. He later became involved in the formation of the Roosevelt Chamber of Commerce that encouraged the formation of minority entrepreneurship, something that Herman wholeheartedly supported. I know personally from my involvement in the Human Rights Commission of Nassau County that Herman's advice and encouragement were often sought and respected. I remember the many times that Herman encouraged us to support the changes in the laws that increased African American representation on the Hempstead Town Board and the Nassau County government. At the time, it was an extremely needed and popular change, and all of Nassau residents, black and white, still have that much needed representation. As a social worker in Nassau County, who worked with many of the social service organizations, Herman's involvement as a trustee or board member was important to me and many others like me. As we knew our views and needs were now being addressed. And when he became a United Way board member, we knew that someone who knew our needs was there to support us. I also knew that Herman's smile and personality were persuasive, and that perhaps they were instrumental in getting some of the programs that we got at the time. The African Americans were pushed by Herman himself. I always thought of Herman as a man who not only believed in diversity, but also knew that the agenda needed to address equality and equity for African Americans had to change. Thank you, Herman, for all you have done, and may you rest in peace, and perhaps as you dance with the angels, you will use your smile and winning ways to put in a word for what you so truly believed in: diversity, equality, and equity for all. Thank
Thank you for your words, Mills. Now, I'd like to introduce Nancy Wong.
When Darrell asked me just to tell some of my memories of Herman working in our Suffolk County, I immediately thought of how important he was to our community land trust. We had formed a group in 2003 called the South Country Community Land Trust. We started with a large group of people dedicated to the idea of building homes that would be affordable and creating a community network to support the families in the homes. A great idea. But as time went on, we became a smaller but a dedicated group, including Herman Washington. He attended most of our meetings, bringing his knowledge and ideas. He was a wonderful addition to our group. He had been involved in community development in other communities, and he helped us negotiate incorporation, tax exemption, and planning our next steps, including our efforts to build and sell a home to a woman who had grown up in Belport, but had not been able to afford to buy her own home. Our last meeting, which Herman was able to attend, was a celebration of her home with all the land trust members. We had become a very close group, and one of the most important things about it that people treasured was getting to know Herman and appreciate how much he was doing for our community. He was involved in other things as well, but I think it was specific that he helped us build this house, which remains today and will be a tribute to the kinds of things that he helped us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Just briefly, I want to make sure I mention this, and you all have been very supportive, but I forgot to tell you to turn off or mute your cell phones. So far, I haven't had that said, but I want to make sure I got that. Now we will have a musical selection sung by Janet Jordan.
Hello, everyone. This song, Memories of You, is composed by U.B. Blake. And it so happens that the piano that Maurice will be playing this afternoon was owned by U.B. Blake and bequeathed to this museum. I just wanted you all to know. Thank you. Why can't I forget like I should? Heaven knows I would if I could, but I just can't keep you off my mind. Though you're gone and all is in vain, all around me you still remain. Wonder why fate should be so unkind. Waking skies at sunrise, every sunset seems to be bringing me memories of you. Here and there, everywhere, scenes that we once knew. And they all just recall memories of you. I wish I could forget those happy years. They have left a rosary of tears. Your face beams in my dreams, spite of all I do. Everything seems to bring memories of
Thank you, Janet. That was very beautiful. Jason Neal will deliver the eulogy.
Good afternoon. To Darrell and all of Herman's family, my heartfelt condolences. My name is Jason Neal, and I am a deacon at Old South Haven Presbyterian Church, and also an elder there. Who was Herman Washington? when you close your eyes, you already have your answer to this question. What will you tell your friends and your family about who Herman Washington was? When they ask you where you were at this moment and whom you were honoring, who was Herman Washington? Well, I've heard people say that he was a mentor. And I know that he was. There were articles written about him. People spoke about him. I know that he was even for me, because I got to sit with him and listen to him. Not often, but just enough. He may not have been the same kind of mentor to me that he was to some of you. He didn't spend hundreds of hours with me. But I got to see him work in the details on some small things. But he was also a bridge builder. Some of you think of Herman as a bridge builder in a big sense, in that he worked with multicultural groups and intergenerational groups, and he brought Nassau and Suffolk and Nassau together on certain things, and he worked on all these big projects. I got a picture sent to me in a text message when I was in Virginia just a couple weeks ago, and it was a picture of my brother and my sister and my nieces and my nephews, and they were sitting here at this museum because I had told them that I was going to be here today, and they wanted to check it out. So it brought them together for a day at the museum. It's amazing how Herman brought them together for a day at the museum, and he didn't even know about it. Herman's response when people would say to him, "So good to see you," was, "It's nice to be seen." Well, if you were to look to your left, my right, on the wall, I think Herman's in very good company today. You heard Maurice play on this piano, and if you were to look behind you on the wall, you would see there's an entire section there for U.B. Blake. I think that he would enjoy that very much. Having just listened to something composed by U.B. Blake, I think he would enjoy that very much. So his picture is being seen with all of these good people, great people, and he's among them. And you're here with him and with them too. And I think Herman would enjoy that very much. Herman was a respected pillar of the community. And when he raised his hand to speak, everyone else would quiet down and listen. because they wanted to hear what he had to say. Because what he said usually was worth listening to. Didn't mean he had to be right all the time. Nobody's right all the time. But what he said was always worth listening to. And he didn't have to yell and scream to get people to pay attention to him. He didn't have to get into an argument. He didn't have to shout to make his voice matter. And that's what I mean about the way that he sometimes mentored people. It didn't always have to do with how much time he spent with you. You see, when I was younger, my way of debating people was easy. I'm going to win because, well, my voice can be really loud. Even without the microphone, my voice can be really loud. So, Herman would just say, just improve your argument. And if you improve your argument, then they won't have anything to debate about, right? If you've got a point that, and what have they got? And he was right. But we also know something else about Herman, that Herman loved women, and women loved him. Herman was a bit of a ladies' man. And there was actually a group of women that, I can tell this story, right? Okay, I'm getting a nod. It's okay. There was a group of women that Darryl would organize called the Herman's Honeys. And they would have a luncheon for his birthday. Darryl would invite all the women who loved Herman, and they would sit and they would talk about Herman, right? And some women would even stop Darryl in the street and say, "You didn't invite me this year. Why did I get invited?" He was a ladies' man. And he was a very loving person in general. He was very compassionate, very caring, very empathetic. But that comes from somewhere. It comes from him taking time to get to know the human condition. His own human condition. He discovered his own frailties, right? Later in life, he discovered, I can't get around as much as I used to, right? That house that Nancy Morris spoke about, that the land trust was able to build, that woman and her family were able to move into. Well, on the day that we were able to hand that set of keys over to that woman so that she and her family could move in, we had lunch with that woman. And all of the members of the land trust gathered together to have lunch with that woman. And Herman said, "I'm coming too." Great. Darryl, you drove him over, right? Darryl drove him over. And then we had to get Herman out of the car. Woo! Now, when I was younger, I used to lift weights. Whoa, boy. Herman was about my size, probably a little smaller than me, actually. But he felt like he weighed about 3 times as much as I did. And trying to maneuver his body out of this car, at some point, I think he ended up on top of me. And then we had to try to get him up these stairs, and he was like this. I'm like this, trying to push him up these stairs, and he was like, I'm not going up anymore. You got to do some more work. And I said, Herman, the food's up there. And he's like, I'm hungry, but you gotta do some more work. You're the young one. And we finally got him up the stairs and into that house. And I said, you know, we probably should have spoken to the builder about putting a ramp on this house. But it wasn't necessary for a ramp to be put on that house. And so the builder didn't put one on there. But we thought if we ever build another house, whether it needs a ramp or not, it's probably gonna get one. But we had lunch that day, and we had a great conversation about how we can all work together as a community to do great things, like we had just done for that family. And all the things that that family was now going to be able to do in that community because they had a place to live. It was one less concern that they had. They didn't have to worry about where they were going to live. Now they could focus on other things, like the education of the 2 children in that house, and whether or not those kids were going to learn languages, or play instruments, or play sports, if they were going to go to college, not if, but when, which was a distinction that Herman made. Don't say if they're going to go to college, say when, and say where. And that distinction made a difference because those kids hadn't thought about even going to college. But now they were starting to think about it. Starting to think it was even a possibility. And that was just a simple conversation that we had over lunch. But it changed their worldview. And that is why it mattered. And those tiny little conversations that he had with people, not just with me, not just with you, but with everyone with whom he came into contact. Those tiny little conversations that he had that could change someone's entire worldview, those are the reasons why we think that someone can be both good and great at the same time. You see? And so when we talk about someone being Herman Washington, and we say, look on the wall, he could be up there too. And nobody in here thinks that that's a giant leap, because it's not. It's not a giant leap. And that is the beauty of his life. You've all read, by now I think you have, his obituary. My father taught me when I was young, if you want to live one day longer than you were scheduled to, when you read the newspapers, start with the obituaries, right after the comics. Read the comics first, then the obituaries. You'll live a day longer. And if you read this obituary, one of the things that you'll notice is that it fits on a page. And Daryl can attest to this. Nobody's life fits on a single page. This is after probably 1,000 drafts of having been written. And I know, because I saw after a draft probably 500 when it was down to about 3 or 4 pages. Okay? And even that was a lot and never enough. There are so many stories that all of you have about this great man. And the only way to share them is if you tell them. No one is ever gone as long as their name is still spoken and as long as their memories live on. I would encourage you, I would implore you to share your stories of Herman, not only with each other and amongst us who are here, but with other people you know. Share your stories of Herman. And when Daryl's around and when Herman's family is around, share your stories with them, but share Herman's stories with your children and with your grandchildren. And the next time that someone says to you, it's good to see you, then you can say, it's good to be seen. Thank you.
We're going to end the memorial today by singing Precious Lord, Take My Hand. If you would like to join me, I wish that you would. The words are in the program. There's an insert in the program. Thank you.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
Amen. Thank you.
Please enjoy the repast that's waiting for you, and thank you so much for being here. Herman's here.
Well, I was definitely looking out for it.
Standing, yeah, and standing, her son is with her. Oh,
I'm glad you did. You know, my nephew, DJ, this is my good friend, How they used to see you. Michael is here too.
Yeah.